So yeah, probably a little bit of an unusual topic or title. And to start off, I need to call out the people from Queensland. So can the Queenslanders raise their hand? I know I've met one person already. So a few. So guys, I have to ask you, you got the Olympic Games in 2032, so congratulations to that, well done. I don't know how this is going to be paid, but that's a different story. But then the next point, so you got the Olympic Games, but you guys are really greedy. So you're taking the AFL, the Australian Football League, away from Melbourne, from the MCG, well done to the Brisbane Lions, but you're not stopping. You're taking also the NRL, for both men and women, both became champions this year, the Brisbane Broncos. So my question is, what's next? Are you going to take Formula One away from Melbourne? You're going to take away the rugby grand final from Sydney, or maybe the tennis from Melbourne? So let's see. No, of course, just joking. But why am I bringing this up? So the question here is, this is all about Australian sports, Australian football, rugby, but I'm not an expert in that. So as Steve already mentioned, my expertise is kind of the real football. I know some might not agree with that, but we have this one, but I think that's the real one. So this is what my talk today is going to be about. So my name is Bernd Merkel. I'm the Senior Medical Advisor at Teva Pharmaceuticals. And when Steve asked me, can we do a little bit of a, hopefully insightful, but also a bit entertaining presentation about what does launch excellence and soccer have in common, I thought, all right, let's get on to with it. So I'm a full-time employee of Teva Pharmaceuticals. I'm here to bring you a little bit of Bundesliga flair to pharma strategy. Opinions expressed here are really solely my own, and I do not express the views or opinions of my employer. And I can promise you don't need shin guards and there won't be any penalty kicks. All right, let's get on with this. So just to give you a little bit of background, why am I here to talk about soccer? So this is what I'm doing on the side. I'm having a little volunteering at a community station radio show, and one of the highlights was being live on the radio during the Soccer Women's World Cup in Australia 2 years ago. So that was the team that we had in place at that time. You can see Australia winning against Canada, that group stage game. And I also have to say congratulations to Australia, qualified the Socceroos for the World Cup next year. And also, can you imagine a German saying congratulations to England, being the first European country having qualified for the World Cup next year? But as we all know, Matt, it's a German coach, right? So that's the only reason why I'm saying that. But Germany is not doing that well at the moment. All right. Now getting a bit more serious, we're talking about the 3 phases of execution. And as we all know, in the pharmaceutical launch, we're looking at pre-launch, launch, and post-season, or post-launch, sorry. In professional soccer, we can compare that with a pre-season, the season kickoff, and then the stage of the mid and late season. And the commonalities hopefully make sense to you. So in the pre-launch, the pre-season, it's all about training, it's about strategy. You want internal alignment, team building, tactics, maybe even some friendly matches. I will talk about that a bit later. And then the launch, the big first game of the season, the kickoff. And it's all about agility and execution. You want to score, you want those goals, you want to be top of the ladder. And then the post-launch. So during the season, you have to analyze, you have to recover. There might be some injuries down the way, and there will be some refinement. So I start with the opponent, the market forces, as I call them. Who are they? So for those that are not so familiar with soccer, a soccer team consists of 11 players, normally, unless there is somebody being naughty and gets a red card, then there might be 10 or even 9. But you start with 11, you have a defense with 4 players, sometimes with 5 or 3, but that is the structure that I'm looking at. You have your midfielders and you have your strikers. So the defense, we start with the goalkeeper. So that's kind of the ultimate line of defense, really representing the financial constraints of healthcare systems, of payers and institutions. So if they, even if you have clinical access, if your medication doesn't align or doesn't fit into those financial budgets, then you won't score and you will be kept out of the net. Then the right back. procurement and tendering, or what I would call cost effectiveness. So really symbolizing the centralized purchasing bodies, so they can really determine whether your product is even available for prescribing in certain institutions. Then you have the first center back, the clinical inertia. My way is just fine. So kind of a little bit of hesitance and even resistance to adopt to what is new. And if there is a new medication coming in, that can really slow down the adoption, especially in institutional settings or public health systems. Then you have the second center back, regulatory complexity. That's becoming more and more, actually. We want to get it less and less. But that really can limit your ability to communicate value and then even delay the time to market if you don't manage that proactively. And you have the left back, distribution and logistics constraints. So that's really about, what if I can't get the product? What if there are any physical or operational challenges that can then lead to delays, or even then the loss of confidence among prescribers and patients. So this is kind of the defense that we have set up. Then the opponent midfielders, what I would call the market gatekeepers. So those ones that really represent the core influencers and the gatekeepers. So we have the defensive midfielder. These are the payers and the health insurers. They are controlling access and reimbursement. And for that one, we really need strong health economics data. We need compelling value propositions and really early engagement with these payers. Then the central midfielder. Michael, that's you, the healthcare professional with the established habits, the prescribing routine. So really those ones that know where to use the medication with their patients and how to use it. So here it's really important to have your peer-to-peer education. As Michael said before, the advocacy, really telling them what they need to know, real-world evidence and a clear differentiation. What does this medication, what others don't, and vice versa. And there is the box-to-box midfielder. These are the clinical guidelines and institutions. What is the standard of care and what can get adopted? So here we have to look at publishing in top-tier journals, for example, engage with guideline committees. So this is the midfield that we are facing. And then we have the opponent strikers, the market drivers that are competing for influence. So really the most active forces shaping the market landscape. They are the ones that are agile. They are the ones that want to score, really moving in front of goal. So the center forward here, the established brands, those medications that have been out there for quite a while, well known, with strong loyalty and really highly recognized. Then you have the second striker, new entrants and launches, so medications that just have recently been approved or are soon to launch, who can also shift conversation and influence, especially if they align with evolving clinical trends. And we have the creative forward, non-traditional options like lifestyle intervention, off-label use of other medications. So again, they can introduce new dimensions. So this is the team that we are kind of seeing during a season. It might change from the tactics. There might sometimes be a bit more offensive teams, sometimes a bit more defensive. But in general, these are the players that are on the other side of the pitch. But now our team. How are we going to win? What's our launch team lineup? So we start with the goalkeeper, regulatory affairs. So this ensures really that the product, or this team, in our case, Manuel Neuer. Of course, I'm German, I'm biased, but I really think that he has revolutionized the goalkeeper game, so that's why I've put him there. So really the last line of defense here, to come back to the pharma world, if regulatory fails, the whole launch is at risk. Then we have the left back, medical communications, scientific content and educational materials, kind of a technical defender who supports both defense and attack. Paolo Maldini from Italy, in my opinion, one of the best left back that has ever played for AC Milan and then also for Italy. This one might be controversial because I guess there will be some people in this room that don't like Liverpool. I don't like the word hate because I think hate is not the right word to get into soccer and football. But firstly, I think he's one of the best centre-backs in the world at the moment. And secondly, my general manager is a Liverpool fan, and he said, put him in. So what shall I do? Coming back, market access. We are talking here about pricing, reimbursement, the formulary inclusion. So really a strong defender who clears the path to market entry. The second center back, supply chain. Here, this is Franz Beckenbauer, one of the greatest that we had in Germany. I was lucky to see him still playing live at that time. Unfortunately, he passed away last year. But coming back to pharma, supply chain. So really ensuring product availability and distribution readiness. So keeps them all moving from the back to the front. And our right back, legal. I also include here compliance and PV. So I know they are different functions, but I put them here in that context under all umbrella because Cafu was such a great player. Right back for Brazil. And legal, yeah, kind of the safeguard. So really keeps the team within the rules of the game when it comes to promotional materials and ensuring legal compliance. So this is kind of the defense that we have set up. Now we are looking at midfield. And I guess the question is, who is your central midfielder? Is it medical? Is it commercial? So the discussion we just had. So I start with the first central midfielder, medical strategy lead. So the one that really orchestrates the scientific narrative and the evidence generation. Zinedine Zidane, in my opinion, of course, personal, the most elegant player I've ever seen on pitch for France. His last international game was not such a good one, but that's a different story. But now, who's going to be the marketing lead? Xavi Hernandez from Spain. So this is the marketing lead, the person that really crafts the brand story and drives promotional campaigns, the creative midfielder that really builds plays and drives momentum. And we also have a box-to-box player, the sales lead, field force empowerment. Here I've chosen Steven Gerrard. Forget about Liverpool. I think he was a great player, both for Liverpool but also for England. So really preparing and empowering field force. And I know that you're now questioning, Bernd, who's going to be the striker, right? All right. So this is where we are set up right now. Striker number one. I guess it was not so difficult. The MSL Field Medical, Cristiano Ronaldo. So really engaging HCPs with scientific dialogue and data, a clinical striker, literally. And in my team, that's possible, Lionel Messi, the sales representative, really the person that executes the launch at the front line with HCPs, the goal scorer that converts strategy into adoption. And the wing player. So I asked my digital omnichannel colleague the other day and said, do you want to be my wing woman on Wednesday? And I think she completely misunderstood until I showed her, you're going to be my wing player on my team. So in this case, I've chosen Thierry Henry. So digital and omnichannel really to expand reach and engagement through digital platforms. So this is how the team is set up. And as I said, the tactics can be changing. But if you look into our team now, I think it's a pretty good team. 11 players, each of them has their own function. And when people ask, oh, for example, what's the value that medical brings to the team? I think no coach in the world will ever play with only 10 or 9 players, depending on where you are positioned on the pitch, but you need all 11 of them. So if you now look, how might a play look like? Medical communications passing the ball to medical strategy, the MSL taking the ball on the left side, wonderful pass, just get it into the penalty box and the sales rep scores. And let's not forget who are the coaches. Again, I've chosen here the model where we have a whole group of coaches because it is again a group that is successful. For those that are not so familiar with soccer, the first one, that's Tony Popovic, the national coach of Australia that led the Socceroos to the World Cup next year. Then we have the kind of successful, not so much at the moment, German one, Julian Nagelsmann. Then Pep Guardiola, the coach of Manchester City, one of the most brilliant tactical brains in my opinion. And a little awe, because I really feel sorry for him, Ange Postecoglou. Unfortunately, just got sacked at Nottingham Forest. I wish him all the best. I hopefully will be wrong. I'm not sure if we will see him back at Premier League again, but hopefully at some other high-level football stage. So, but the coaches in that context really setting the vision, aligning cross-functional strategy, motivation, and these are all the directors involved. So, coming back to that slide that I showed you at the start, how can a pre-season practically look like? The training camp. You're talking about internal alignment, team building, and capability development. Friendly matches. That could be advisory boards, pilot programs, or early access initiatives. Scouting the league, of course. Competitor landscaping, market research, stakeholder mapping, tactics and formation. You need to get your brand strategy up. You need to generate evidence. You need to plan access. And automatisms. It's all about build your team with trust and the right key players so that everybody knows his and her role. Then season kickoff, the launch. The opening matches, the initial engagements with the healthcare professionals, first prescriptions, early feedback. It's game on now. Tactical adjustments, you might have to refine your messaging, targeting, and channel mix. Injury management, people might get injured, so you might have to address unexpected access delays, supply issues, or safety signals. And you have the big games coming up during a season, like, sorry Liverpool fans, Liverpool versus Man U, or Chelsea versus Arsenal. So these are our major congresses, formulary decisions, or even media moments. And last but not least, the mid to late season, post-launch. So we're looking here, there is the league table pressure. We want to be very good when it comes to the end of the season. So how do we track KPIs, market share, and competitor moves? The transfer window. Do we have to look at onboarding new talent, expanding indications, or entering new markets? Cup competitions, that's something in addition. We want to win the season, but there might be also a little cup that we can win on the side. So in this context, special initiatives like patient support programs or real-world evidence studies, and the end of season review, life cycle planning, loss of exclusivity strategy, and preparing for the next launch. Some offensive tactics that we can look at: targeted HCP engagement, bold differentiated messaging, understanding the patient HCP dynamics, omni-channel, and proactive medical affairs. These are just a few examples of how you can shape your offense. And then being too defensive, you won't score. So that means in soccer, parking the bus, all players behind the ball, which means over-indexing on compliance, legal, and regulatory reviews, avoiding forward passes, really hesitating in terms of engagement and launching. Playing not to lose, no, you want to win. So don't focus only on risk mitigation instead of market impact, and no shots on goal, delaying field force activation or scientific exchange. So get the ball in the other half quickly. So the highlights of my talk, hopefully, because I'm medical affairs is not just defense, it's a playmaker. Every role matters. Really, success is a team effort. Launch is a season, not just a match. And you win by scoring goals, but also by reading the field with all the people that are playing in defense. You need to get the ball into or to the attackers, otherwise you won't score. And there's hope for the non-Queensland people. Brisbane Roar, only 3rd in the A-League of the men. Brisbane Lions, only 4th in the AFL of women. And the Brisbane Bullets, only 7th in the basketball for the men. So I hope Queenslanders, you take my teasing not too hard. The final whistle, I hopefully see you next year. So thank you for those that are not so familiar with soccer. I will talk to Steve, and because you listen today, maybe I come back next year and talk about Australian football or rugby. But otherwise, enjoy the conference. Thank you very much.